Online game, I possess a monster merging simulator. Chapter 141, Diamond Grade Equipment, Ghost Shadow Necklace. Lorne stepped forward and picked up the special necklace from the ground. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the loot, Ghost Shadow Necklace. Ghost Shadow Necklace. Grade, Diamond. Attributes, none. Special effect, Destruction Strike. When exiting stealth, deal 50% additional damage to the target. Special effect, Natural Assassin. Enter stealth mode and receive 30% movement speed bonus. Special effect, Enhanced Stealth. Increase stealth duration by 3 times. Special effect, Shadow Stealth. Enters the Shadow Stealth state. Concealment effect will be increased by 100%. You can attack while in the invisible stealth state. During this period of time, the invisibility effect will not be removed. Under this state, 50 MP will be consumed per second. When the MP is completely depleted, the invisibility state will be removed. When the level difference is too great or when one is injured severely, the invisibility state will be broken. Type, Necklace. Level, None. Introduction. I see. When he saw the interface, Lorne understood everything. No wonder Bloodthirsty could rely on his own strength to make countless large guilds helpless in the Doomsday Forest. It was all because of this powerful Ghost Shadow Necklace. To his surprise, this equipment was actually diamond grade. In Iron Skull City, the highest grade equipment was naturally the Angel's Wings belonging to Lorne. This mythical equipment was one of the top equipment in the world. However, after the mythical equipment, there were 3 platinum equipment, and the rest were gold equipment. From this, it could be seen that the current quality of equipment was very strictly controlled by the system. According to the normal game progress, silver grade equipment was the mainstream equipment at this stage. Gold grade equipment was the divine equipment at this stage, and platinum equipment was basically obtained under special circumstances. However, no one expected that while everyone was still fighting for the silver grade equipment, Bloodthirsty of the Dark Faction had already obtained diamond grade equipment. Although this equipment did not have attributes, it surprisingly had 4 special effects. Each effect was extremely powerful. The first special effect, Destruction Strike, provided the assassin with high explosive power. The second special effect, Natural Assassin, provided the assassin with powerful mobility. The third special effect, Enhanced Stealth, gave the assassin greater stealth ability. The fourth special effect, Shadow Stealth, allowed the assassin to truly obtain the monstrous ability to turn invisible and kill. When players were in the state of Shadow Stealth, as long as their MP was not depleted, they could remain invisible. Moreover, they would not be exposed even after getting hit by most attacks. This is really an equipment tailored for me. Lorne could not bear to part with the equipment. He really felt that it matched him. Look at the fourth effect. As long as the MP was not empty, he could remain invisible. According to the total MP of more than 5,000 points, if he wanted to remain invisible, he could persist for 100 seconds with this equipment. If he continued to use magic potions to replenish himself during this period of time, he would last longer, especially with Rimuru around. Rimuru's healing skill could not only recover the target's HP, but also the target's MP. With its healing frequency and strength, it could definitely make Lorne invisible for more than a few minutes. At this moment, one might be curious as to why Lorne had to stay invisible for so long as a summoner. It was easy to understand. This was because the summoner did not need to fight by himself. He only needed to protect himself. This equipment happened to be the greatest protection for him. In addition, when entering some special grounds, he could also secretly enter alone and summon his pets within the map to avoid the guards at the entrance. In short, this equipment meant something significant to Lorne. At this moment, as a member of the Light Faction, after being equipped with this equipment, he directly triggered the equipment ranking. Ding! Game announcement, due to your equipment Ghost Shadow Necklace being ranked second on the Iron Skull City Equipment Leaderboard, would you like to reveal the information of your equipment Ghost Shadow Necklace? Yes, make it public. Lorne chose to disclose some of the attributes again. Just because an expert revealed a part of the equipment's attributes, it did not mean the other players could target them. In the game world, strength was the only reliance. When the other party's equipment attributes were countless times stronger than oneself, no matter how many schemes one had in battle, it could not change the outcome of the battle. At the same time, in the Doomsday Forest. Gosh! Look at the equipment ranking. There's an equipment update. Someone exclaimed in the chat. In the next second, countless players opened the equipment ranking. First place, Angel's Wings, Mythical, Owner, Tyrant. Reward, damage plus 10%. Second place, Ghost Shadow Necklace, Diamond, Owner, Tyrant. Reward, damage plus 9%. Third place, Death Substitute Necklace, Platinum, Owner, Tyrant. Reward, damage plus 8%. Fourth place, Lightning Staff, Platinum, Owner, Thor. Reward, damage plus 7%. It could be seen that the first place on the list was still the insurmountable Angel's Wings. However, the Lightning Staff that was originally in second place fell to fourth place at this moment. What replaced it was the equipment that Tyrant had recently obtained, the Ghost Shadow Necklace. Upon seeing the name of this equipment, the players in the Doomsday Forest immediately became excited. Ha ha ha, Bloodthirsty is going to cry. No wonder Bloodthirsty could ask a few large guilds to encircle him. It's because he has such powerful equipment. It's actually a diamond-grade equipment. Platinum equipment is worth a few million. This diamond equipment will probably cost more than 10 million. Congratulations to Tyrant for earning 10 million. Master, do you lack a son? I'm willing to change my surname. The players exploded again. To ordinary players, the equipment ranking was the wealth ranking. Being able to have a spot on it meant that he had a net worth of several million. As for a player like Tyrant who directly occupied the top 3 spots on the leaderboard, his net worth had already reached more than $100 million. He was a true tycoon. Chapter 142, Looking for the Cold Desolate Dragon City. At the same time, in a high-level energy area, in the high-level luxury hotel, Hoses ended his rest. The fun of the game Divine Realm was beyond his expectations. Yesterday, he had even slept through the night. From 4 in the afternoon, he had slept until now. After rejecting the meeting with the Michelle family, he lay down in the game cabin again. To be honest, he was a little fascinated by the Divine Realm. Especially after following behind the leader and earning tens of millions for no reason, he increasingly felt that the Divine Realm was the future of the world. In this new game world, the business opportunities were infinite. He believed that as long as he entered early enough, the final benefits would be much higher than the real businesses. It was because of this understanding that he had created a large merchant guild again a few days ago and entered the game, preparing to showcase his skills in the spiritual world. In addition, when he saw his leader easily defeat a team of more than 100 people that day, he had a different feeling. He seemed to have experienced the passion that he should not have at this age. It was 10,000 times more satisfying than when he was in the underworld back then. However, there was something bothering him recently. In order to let the guild develop, his daughter had been online for a long time recently. She even spent less time with an old man like him. As a father, he naturally wished to help his daughter, but considering her stubborn nature, direct help would definitely be rejected. Therefore, he planned to let his daughter get to know his leader first. But who knew that he was too anxious and too straightforward, causing the leader to reject him directly. This made him very uncomfortable. Sigh. Hoses sighed and put on his helmet. Ding! Regional announcement. Regional announcement. As soon as he entered the game, a series of notifications popped up. They were all heroic acts of tyrant. Hoses immediately turned into the bootlicker, super rich. He opened the chat and refreshed the channel with paid announcement messages. Leader is awesome. Leader is the best in the world. Leader is awesome. Leader is the best in the world. Super Rich fully displayed his rich family background and his bootlicking personality. The surrounding players were already numb. However, at this moment, a player called Crystal Chime could not help but speak. How disgusting! Can you not be such a bootlicker? How can a greasy uncle do that? Seeing this announcement, all the players were shocked. How bold was this person to dare speak to a tycoon like this? In the forest, Super Rich had just come online. When he saw this ID, he was stunned. Crystal Chime? Wasn't this the ID of his little daughter? Damn, as a father, he was actually scolded by his daughter as a bootlicker. How could he still play this game? Swish! 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 In a forest, a group of forest lizards was being attacked. The agile elf assassin, Aisha, used her high agility to move back and forth among the monsters. The dagger in her hand quickly slid past, leaving countless wounds on the monsters. Such terrifying damage was not something the weak forest lizards could withstand. In less than 10 seconds, the group of level 30 monsters fell to the ground. Double the experience points. Looking at the system interface, Lorne's eyes widened. After repeatedly confirming, he finally confirmed that the legendary talent master of experience he had obtained from the dragon, Walter, had given him twice the experience. This double experience included all his other bonuses. In other words, Lorne now had 450% experience points. Compared to before, it had truly doubled. Great! With this talent, the difficulty of leveling up the pets will decrease by half. Lorne killed the remaining monsters, then rushed into the depths of the forest and began to sweep through it. Now that he had such a talent skill, he was extremely excited. If he did not farm for more than 10 hours today, he would not be able to sleep. Of course, there was something else that drove him forward. It was the information that the dragon, Walter, had given him. Mission: search for Cold Desolate Dragon City. Type: Global Competition Mission, Main Mission. Difficulty: Epic. Description: a long time ago, the Light faction was led by the dragon race. In order to ensure the peace and stability of the continent, the dragon race built the Cold Desolate Dragon City at the border between the Dark faction and the Light faction. Countless dragons lived there, but because of the war and history, it disappeared from everyone's memory. The dragon, Walter, hopes that you can find it and inform the Dragon of Light of the location of the Cold Desolate Dragon City. You will receive an extremely generous reward for this. Note: this mission is a global competition mission. It means that all players in the world can obtain this mission from special NPCs. You guys are competitors. If a player completes the mission ahead of time, the mission that other players accept will fail. Yes, not only had Walter informed Lorne about the Cold Desolate Dragon City, but he had also issued him this global competition mission. The mission content was very simple. It was to find the location of the Cold Desolate Dragon City and tell the exact coordinates to the Dragon of Light. After completing the mission, they would receive a large amount of rewards. Looks like the players from the Dark faction have also accepted this mission. Lorne remembered what he had heard from the Dark faction players. It seemed that the group had been near the Valley of Death, searching for something, and it was related to Walter. Now, it seemed that they were looking for information regarding the Cold Desolate Dragon City. Unfortunately, they were too late. The dragon, Walter, had already told him all the information, and now, Walter was basically dead. If the other party only had a clue to the mission, then they might not be able to complete it for the rest of their lives. A main storyline mission shouldn't be as simple as finding the address, right? Lorne had a deep understanding of high-level missions. After all, he had accepted high-level missions before. For example, Divine Radiance. The first part of this mission was to let him go to the Church of Light and find the Dragon of Light. The mission was naturally very simple. But that was not the main part of the mission. Therefore, Lorne had reason to suspect that there had to be a story behind this global competitive mission. Now, it was up to whoever could find the location of the cold desolate dragon city first. This was a huge advantage for Lorne, because he had already obtained information regarding the cold desolate dragon city from the mouth of the dragon, Walter. Chapter 143, Mines. Damn, this mission to find the lost cold desolate dragon city is really troublesome. Lorne killed all the creatures before him and followed the river. He had been traveling through this region for a long time, but he had not encountered any fallen dragons. Lorne was not discouraged. To him, the harder the mission, the greater the reward. He was filled with anticipation regarding a main storyline mission like finding the cold desolate dragon city. This was not only for the mission reward, but also for the competition. Before he accepted this mission, the players of the Dark faction had already received the mission and had been doing it for a long time. Lorne did not know the other party's current progress. Perhaps the dragon, Walter, was not the only information point of the other party's mission, so he was even more urgent. It was also this sense of urgency that made Lorne very excited. Although he had only rested for 4 hours yesterday, it did not affect his mental state. Of course, there was another reason why he was so enthusiastic. Ding! Congratulations on discovering an ordinary gem mine, the coordinates have been recorded for you. Congratulations on discovering a rare sulfur mine, the coordinates have been recorded for you. Ding! Ding! As Lorne moved in the direction of the dragon, Walter, his treasure-seeking skill brought him a lot of mineral information. Mines in the game were very important strategic resource points. Although the players could not develop it yet, as long as the players' mining skills improved, these would become wealth. This was like the discovery of new oil fields in the real world. Every landmark was like a golden mountain. It was also because of this information that Lorne was so excited. Another thing worth mentioning was that his treasure-seeking talent actually had a recording function. The mineral veins he encountered on the way were all recorded on the skill list. If he wanted to mine in the future, he only needed to follow the map. Ding! Congratulations on leveling your pet small artillery to level 29. Congratulations on leveling your pet small artillery to level 30. Your pet small artillery has awakened its skill shock arrow. Congratulations on leveling your pet, little spider, to level 14. As he killed more and more monsters, the pet's levels increased rapidly. Since yesterday, he had been sweeping through the forest along the way. During this period, he had killed countless monsters and gained millions of experience points. However, before leveling up Little Spider, he had to first raise the level of Small Artillery. It could be seen that Small Artillery had reached level 30. Because its quality had reached Gold, the current attack power of Small Artillery had also increased to 3,485 points. This attack power was only half of Aisha's. However, compared to wild monsters, this attack power was definitely terrifying. After all, so far, among all the bosses that Lorne had seen, other than the dragon, who had counted Walter, the attack power of the other bosses had not exceeded 3,000. As for the skill that it had just awakened, Shock Arrow. Effect, deals 100% penetrative damage to the targets 40 yards ahead. There is a 50% chance of stunning each target. This skill had a very similar effect to the piercing arrow. It mainly penetrated targets. But there was also a clear difference between them. The damage of this skill was not that terrifying, but it had a crowd control effect. In this case, it combined with the piercing arrow and could effectively clear out all targets in a diameter. After leveling up Small Artillery, Lorne began to level up Little Spider. This pet was a silver boss with very high leveling experience. However, now that Lorne had the talent Master of Experience, it was equivalent to reducing his EXP requirement by half. In this case, there was nothing to worry about. According to Lorne's current farming speed, he could kill 5 to 10 monsters in a minute. With double the experience, he could obtain at least 3,300 experience points. He could obtain at least 200,000 experience points in an hour. Perhaps this number could not compare to when he had hunted the death worms, but in normal circumstances, this speed was very terrifying. Without thinking, he led his pets deeper into the forest. Ding! Congratulations on discovering a rare medium-sized gem mine, the coordinates have been recorded for you. Congratulations on discovering a rare small sulfur mine, the coordinates have been recorded for you. Congratulations on discovering a rare large refined iron mine, the coordinates have been recorded for you. Ding! Ding! As Lorne gradually went deeper, the frequency of treasure-seeking detecting ores became higher and higher. Moreover, these were all rare ores. It could be seen that several rare mineral veins had appeared on Lorne's interface since 2 hours ago, and most of them were medium-sized. Looks like we're about to reach our destination. Lorne had a feeling that he was very close to the lost cold desolate dragon city. He opened the map. According to the clues given by Dragon Commander Walter, the location of the cold desolate dragon city should be at the border of the Lake of Death and the Dragon Ridge mountain range. Due to the passage of time, the landscape changed. The ancient city moved with the geology, away from its original location. Lorne put the map away and moved on. During this period of time, he had been closely monitoring the situation of the Dragon Soul Compass. For some reason, the needle of the Dragon Soul Compass was trembling slightly, as if it had sensed something. But to his frustration, he could not find any trace of the Dragon Soul. After several attempts, he was basically certain that this was definitely because the compass was close to cold desolate Dragon City, so it was affected by a special power. With this conclusion, Lorne became even more excited. As the former habitat of the dragon, there was definitely a dragon tomb in the cold desolate Dragon City. There might even be a large number of dragon corpses there. If he could obtain enough dragon corpses there, he would make a killing. Chapter 144, Rich Mineral Resources. Roar! As he passed through a hill, a terrifying monster suddenly emerged from the dark lake. It was a level 60 giant crocodile king, and its 2-meter-long bloody mouth charged at Lorne. Angel's Descent. Lorne flew as fast as he could away from the battlefield. It was also thanks to his agility attribute that he had been able to escape from such a terrifying monster. Looks like invisibility is not omnipotent. Lorne had used the effect of the Ghost Shadow Necklace earlier, but the other party had still discovered him. From this, it could be known that when the difference in level between the two sides was more than 20 levels, Ghost Shadow's invisibility would be seen through. After approaching the Dragon Ridge, the monsters became more and more terrifying. Lorne had arrived at the edge of the two maps. From here, he could see the mountain range that looked like a dragon's back. Behind that place was the border of Iron Skull City. There was an icy plain of calamity that had existed for hundreds of millions of years. It was a restricted area that was sealed in ice. 10,000 years ago, a group of greedy and tyrannical people appeared in the dark abyss. They were affected by the power of darkness and became the degenerates of humans. They hid in the Empire Alliance, and there were even some who held immense power. Later, the war between darkness and light erupted, and the Alliance army of the Empire and the army of the rebels fought a long battle. The final result was naturally the light faction obtaining the final victory. As for the rebels, they were driven to the northernmost land of extreme cold, which was the current icy plain of calamity. Unfortunately, such an extreme environment did not cause the traitors to die. On the contrary, the rebels created a small dark abyss in a huge crack in the glacier. It was also because the dark power in that crack had always existed that that place gradually became the current icy plain of calamity. In order to prevent the other party from invading, the dragons had specially built a cold desolate dragon city on the Dragon Ridge. Now that cold desolate dragon city was gone, what replaced it were the large cities built by humans, Iron Skull City, and the countless fortresses at the border. Of course, Lorne did not want to go near the Dragon Ridge. It was much more dangerous there. Fortunately, according to the information of the dragon, Walter, the location of the cold desolate dragon city was close to the Lake of Death. Most importantly, there was a huge extinct volcano near the cold desolate dragon city. This was important information to find the city. Lorne took out the dragon soul compass and carefully followed the map. Soon, it was the last day of the event. Lorne had been searching for 2 days at the border between the Dragon Ridge mountain range and the Lake of Death. In the past 2 days, Lorne had been in a terrible state. The bosses he had encountered along the way were too powerful. Even when he used the Ghost Shadow Necklace, he had been attacked by countless monsters. In the hands of bosses above level 50, they only needed one finger to crush a young adventurer like Lorne. Fortunately, he had the help of his pets. Despite the difficulty, he passed through the monsters safely. Today was almost over, but he still could not find the mysterious cold desolate dragon city. At this moment, the treasure-seeking talent suddenly made a new discovery. Ding! Congratulations on discovering an undetectable unknown mine, the coordinates have been recorded for you. An undetectable mineral vein? Lorne looked at the notification on the system interface and was stunned. This was the first time he had detected an ore vein of such quality. Look again. Sensing something, Lorne quickly commanded his pets to spread out and move forward. Ding! Congratulations on discovering an undetectable unknown mine, the coordinates have been recorded for you. Congratulations on discovering an undetectable unknown mine, the coordinates have been recorded for you. Congratulations on discovering an undetectable unknown mine, the coordinates have been recorded for you. Ding! Treasure seeking continued to flash. It indicated that it had discovered special mineral veins one after another, and every once in a while, a notification would appear. Wasn't such veins too rich? Moreover, after entering this area, the treasure-seeking talent could not detect what the mineral veins were. Looks like I'm really close to the cold desolate dragon city this time. Lorne's sleepiness vanished. He gathered himself and quickly headed in the direction he had planned. After crossing a huge mountain range, the surrounding monsters became more and more concentrated. There were often hundreds of them, and their levels were terrifyingly high. Due to the high level of the monster, there was no way for Lorne to resist it. The weak him could only rely on the reconnaissance of the long-tongued bat to slowly advance. Before this, the Angel's Wings equipment had evolved, and his overall attributes had also been greatly enhanced. Coupled with the invisibility effect of the Ghost Shadow Necklace and the help of his pets, he had barely survived in this area. Just like that, he spent more than 2 hours running out of the region covered by the high-level monsters. It was no wonder that the players of the Dark Guild could not find the location of cold desolate Dragon City. If they came to this place, unless a million troops attacked this defense line together, it was impossible to reach this area safely. Lorne continued forward, heading up the mountain range, hoping to obtain a map of the area on the mountain. From the map, he had arrived near a circular mountain range, which was very similar to the huge extinct volcano that Walter had mentioned. However, he was not sure if that area was the extinct volcano or the situation around it. According to the information provided by Walter, cold desolate Dragon City was near the extinct volcano. This information was very accurate. But the problem was that as a dragon, the vicinity he spoke of might not be what humans thought. That might be a long distance. Therefore, considering that his mission was about to end, Lorne had to figure out the direction before continuing forward. Just like that, he walked up the towering mountain and arrived at a cliff. The moment he stood there, Lorne's eyes widened as he stared at the scene below. Chapter 145, Triggering the Game Materialization Function. Is that the extinct volcano? Standing on the cliff, Lorne saw the huge, bulging mountain range in the distance. It was covered in forests and had infinite vitality. If no one had told him, he would not have been able to look down from the sky. He could not imagine that it was a huge volcano. Buzz! The dragon's soul compass trembled. Lorne pulled out the tool and looked in the direction of the needle. In the other direction was a dark, endless lake, like the sea. The black lake was extremely calm, like a black mirror. Looking down from here, one would feel immense fear. That place was like a black hole that swallowed everything. Even light could not pass through that region. Lorne's eyes searched the shore of the black lake. When his gaze swept over a mountain range, he suddenly stopped. That is. Lorne saw a huge mountain range as high as 1,000 meters, and in the mountain range, there was a city hundreds of meters high that completely merged with the mountain. If not for the information regarding Cold Desolate Dragon City, he would not have discovered the city in the mountain. When Lorne finally reached the mountain after several hours, he was completely shocked. This was indeed an incomparably huge city. Although it looked like it had been abandoned for tens of millions of years, it was actually still filled with vitality and an incomparably grand aura. It was like a dragon that had slept for thousands of years had completely awakened at this moment. Lorne was stunned. He even wondered if there were still dragons in such a miraculous city. Ding! Congratulations on discovering the Dragon City, Cold Desolate Dragon City. Congratulations on completing the mission of the dragon, Walter. The global competition mission Find the Lost Cold Desolate Dragon City has officially ended. The system notification suddenly sounded. Lorne could not help but laugh. After searching for 2 days, he finally found Cold Desolate Dragon City. What he did not expect was that the scale of the Cold Desolate Dragon City was actually so huge. Just from its appearance, it was incomparably shocking. Such a huge dragon city might have even more surprises inside. There might even be living dragons. Lorne felt that anything was possible, especially since the dragon's compass had been trembling. This meant that there were many things about dragons in the city, especially the corpses. After feeling happy, Lorne quickly walked towards the entrance of Cold Desolate Dragon City. But at that moment, all the images suddenly vanished, turning into darkness. At the same time, an incomparably huge golden banner appeared in his mind as the system's voice sounded in his ears. Ding! Global announcement: due to the game progress reaching a new stage, the first maintenance and upgrade of Divine Realm will officially begin. The upgrade time is 24 hours. The specific details of the upgrade can be checked on the game's internal official website. Ding! Ding! The global announcement repeated 3 times before Lorne was forced offline. This situation occurred in the entire game. All the players in the world were in an uproar. High-level energy zone, Cross Coffin Guild headquarters. Due to the failure of the hunting plan, all the higher UPS of the guild were summoned to the conference room by the military and began the plan that lasted for several days. Finding the lost Cold Desolate Dragon City was the most important mission for them, and also the priority for the 2 dark guilds. But after losing the clue about the dragon, Walter, they could only find clues elsewhere and try to contact the only player who might have information, Tyrant. Unfortunately, no matter how they posted information on the forum and in the media, they did not contact the other party. At this moment, the leader of the Cross Coffin Guild suddenly received an emergency message in the game. He quickly connected to the projection of the conference room. In the next second, a system notification appeared. Ding! Mission hint: Cold Desolate Dragon City has been discovered by another player. Your competition mission Lost Cold Desolate Dragon City has failed. What the F***ck? In the conference room, when Lieutenant Colonel Arthur saw this information, he cursed. How is this possible? Impossible! Lieutenant Colonel Arthur roared crazily. For this mission, their military region had used countless manpower and financial resources. Almost every day, tens of thousands of people explored the ruins of the war. This exploration lasted for a total of 10 days. However, before he could find the target, this mission was actually snatched away by someone. How could he accept such an outcome? In another high-level energy zone, in the underground base. In the northeastern region of the World Alliance, the largest guild in the region, the Universe Guild, was in a great mood. Just a moment ago, because of a special mission, they had received a world-class competition mission from a dying old man: find the lost cold desolate dragon city. After seeing the details of the mission, the leader of the Universe Guild, number 1 in the universe, immediately widened his eyes. As the leader of a large guild, how could he not know the importance of this mission? It had to be known that this was an epic main storyline mission, and it was the only global competition mission in the world. Its value must be beyond imagination. As long as they could complete this mission, they believed that their guild would definitely reach the sky in a single step and trample all the other guilds in the world under their feet. Inform all the guild members to mainly tackle this mission. Whether our Universe Guild can surpass the top country of the East and the top country of the West will depend on this mission. Number 1 in the universe excitedly issued an emergency order. However, at that moment, ding! Mission hint: Cold Desolate Dragon City has been discovered by another player. Your competition mission Lost Cold Desolate Dragon City has failed. Pfft! Number 1 in the universe spat out blood. Damn, I just received the mission. At this moment, Lorne was just going offline. But as he was doing this, a special system notification sounded in his ear. Ding! Congratulations! As you have furthered the progress of the game, you have received a materialization opportunity. You can choose a skill or equipment to use in reality. Chapter 146, Equipment materialized into the real world. What? Materialize? Lorne thought he had misheard. However, after carefully checking the system notification, he finally confirmed the information he had just heard. He could really materialize something. Absolutely. Lorne's heart raced as he realized what the World Alliance said was true. In the game Divine Realm, everything could be conjured in the real world. They could not materialize things now because the game was still in its initial stages. However, there were no signs of this materialization. The system did not even explain anything. The reason for all of this was because Lorne had completed the only global competition mission in the world and sped up the game's progress. That was all. This forced Lorne to consider a problem. Were there other methods that could trigger materialization? Would someone materialize the things in the game in reality for other reasons? If that happened, the real world would quickly be affected. After all, the players in the game had their own attributes, so their combat strength far exceeded that of ordinary humans. If someone obtained the ability in the game, it would have a huge impact on society. Especially if the criminals obtained this power, the problem would be even bigger. In addition, Lorne had another consideration. Did the World Alliance really know about this? To be honest, Lorne had always been curious about the birth of Divine Realm and had a sense of crisis. This was a 100% realistic virtual world. With human technology, it was impossible to create it. However, the result was that not only was Divine Realm born, but it also had the ability to materialize. This was identical to the World Alliance's announcement. Did the World Alliance really have the technology to turn virtual reality into reality? How was this possible? Lorne felt that it was unlikely. He did not think that human technology could reach such a level. On the contrary, in his heart, he was more willing to believe the conspiracy on the internet. That was the World Alliance was already connected to a higher civilization and was even controlled by it. To most people, this conspiracy theory was more convincing than the World Alliance's. Looks like this world is much more complicated than I imagined. Lorne could not help but sigh. In the past, he only felt that the game Divine Realm was where he earned money and did not think too much about it. But as he learned more, he realized that his thoughts were changing, especially his reverence for technology. Unfortunately, his identity was too low, so he could not come into contact with those hidden matters. Only the true higher UPS knew the truth behind this world. As a small citizen, he just had to mind his own business. Huff. Lorne sighed. He temporarily put aside the thoughts in his mind. Even if the world collapsed, there were still others holding it up. It was not for a small citizen like him to worry about this. Of course, for the sake of his safety in reality, he had to go to a higher level energy zone as soon as possible. The energy zone was different from the slums. The higher the level, the better the rules and protection. Even if someone obtained some of the game's abilities, they could not act recklessly in the high-level energy zone. As for which item to materialize? Lorne returned his attention to the panel in front of him. A skill with enough potential to materialize, Hellhound Summoning. Treasure Seeking, Master of Experience, and Monster Merging Simulator were all innate abilities and were not in the Materialization series. However, the skill Hellhound Summoning was not suitable for the real world. It did not seem useful to fantasize about summoning a hellhound in the real world. After all, in this technology world, there were surveillance cameras everywhere. As long as such a huge event occurred in a region, it would definitely attract the attention of the officials. Therefore, Lorne eliminated the thought of doing it. As for equipment with the potential to materialize, there were many choices. Angel's Wings, Ghost Shadow Necklace, Death Substitution Necklace, Protection Barrier, these items had the potential to materialize. As a mythical equipment, Angel's Wings naturally had the priority to be conjured. However, Lorne felt that this skill was too conspicuous in the real world. Once it was activated, it was difficult to hide his identity. Therefore, according to the current situation in the real world, he decided to first set Angel's Wings as a backup target. The effects of Death Substitution Necklace and Protection Barrier were to protect his life, but Lorne was already in a very orderly energy zone, so the frequency of using these two items might be very low. Especially in the case of the Death Substitute Necklace. As long as the effect was triggered, this equipment would completely lose its effect. In terms of current value, it was definitely inferior to the Protection Barrier. However, compared to the Protection Barrier, Lorne was more concerned about the last piece of equipment. It was Ghost Shadow Necklace. The effect of this equipment was invisibility. Whether in the game or in reality, it was very magical. Moreover, this equipment allowed him to act in invisibility, which was even more incredible. I choose the Ghost Shadow Necklace. Without thinking, Lorne made his choice. In a safe environment, the Ghost Shadow Necklace with the invisibility effect was indeed the most suitable equipment to materialize. As for other equipment, he could materialize them in the future. Lorne was confident in his strength. In this game world, the faster the player progressed in the game, the easier it was to materialize things. He was definitely the most likely player to do so. Of course, if he could really materialize something else next time, he hoped that it would not be skills or equipment, but the pets beside him. For example, as an elf, Aisha not only had the most beautiful appearance in the world, but she also had extraordinary combat strength. With Aisha by his side, it was definitely safer and more reliable than increasing his strength. Ding! Game equipment is being materialized. Please wait. 2%. 3%. Time passed little by little. The time it took to materialize was longer than Lorne had imagined. This made Lorne feel tormented. He was worried about the success of materialization. After all, it was all so dreamlike. If all of this was a joke designed by the World Alliance in the game, then he would have been happy for nothing. Lorne stared nervously at the panel, watching the number increase bit by bit. Half an hour later, a pleasant voice sounded. Ding! Materialization complete. Chapter 147, Assassination? When the loading option in the game was completed, a black light cocoon immediately appeared on Lorne in reality. It turned into energy and entered his body. At this moment, Lorne went offline. Before he could check his body, he immediately realized that something had appeared in his mind. It was a system panel. Just like the interface in the game. However, there was no data on this panel for the time being, only an equipment icon. It really materialized. Lorne looked incredulous. Although he was mentally prepared, he was still shocked by it. Virtual reality materialization was beyond Lorne's understanding. Fortunately, Lorne had lived a rich life, so he was much more accepting of this special information than ordinary people. He only gasped for a few seconds before recovering. He began to check the details of this equipment and found that it was identical to the one in the game. In that case, invisibility. Lorne activated the equipment's active skill. Because he did not have any stealth-type skills, he could not trigger the effect of strengthened stealth. He could only directly trigger the effect of shadow stealth. When Lorne triggered this active skill, his body directly turned illusory, and he even disappeared from this world. He was like a person who existed in another dimension. He could see everything in this world, but others could not see him. Standing in front of the mirror, he did not see himself. Not only that, but there was no sign of him on the ground. This invisibility is stronger than I imagined. Lorne muttered to himself. He did not leave his room, for he had to test the duration of the skill. In the game, the duration of this skill was related to the player's MP. But this was reality. He did not have any MP. Therefore, this needed to be tested before the final data could be obtained. Time passed slowly. Lorne stood there and waited. 3 minutes later, Lorne felt his mental state worsen, as if something was draining away. 5 minutes later, Lorne felt a slight headache. Then, he stopped the test. After resting on the sofa for a long time, Lorne opened his eyes. According to the test, he had basically confirmed the duration of the Ghost Shadow Necklace's invisibility. The longest period of invisibility was about 7 minutes. If it exceeded that time, there was a risk of fainting. In addition, under invisibility, his movement speed was greatly increased. The Ghost Shadow Necklace had the effect of increasing movement speed by 30%. Although it would only be triggered when one was invisible, it still gave Lorne a huge boost. With this amplification effect, his physical fitness would exceed 99.9% of the population. Unless he moved at high speed, it was difficult for anyone to keep up with him. About 3 hours later, Lorne felt that he had basically recovered. He looked at the door as a bold thought occurred to him. Since he had obtained the invisibility ability, he had to test it out and see if anyone outside could discover him. Without hesitation, Lorne left. As he walked out the door, at the entrance of another small villa, 2 guys in black suits and sunglasses were stealthily trying to unlock the door. This strange behavior attracted Lorne's attention, and he quickly arrived near it. Because of his invisibility, the other party did not realize that their actions were being watched. Crack! With the efforts of one of them, the door was quickly unlocked. The 2 strong men who were dressed vigilantly rushed into the house, and Lorne followed them. The decor of this small villa was more classical. It could be seen that the other party was a more cultured woman, because there were only 2 pairs of high heels on the shoe rack. 2 men sneaked into a woman's villa. They did not seem like good people. He followed the 2 to the bedroom. Soon, a beautiful woman in a dress who was about to change appeared in his vision. "Who are you?" When she noticed that someone had intruded, the woman immediately became nervous. However, to his surprise, this woman seemed much calmer than ordinary people. Although she looked nervous, she did not shout. "Our boss wants you to stay here forever." 2 strong men in suits blocked the entrance, their tone extremely cold. One of them even took out a small handgun from under his suit. Clearly, they wanted to kill the woman in front of them. "You're from the Zama's family." The woman looked at them calmly. At this moment, she did not forget to investigate their identity. Perhaps she knew that it was impossible for her to escape, so she wanted to know the truth. Unfortunately, the two men did not answer. The guy with the gun raised the gun. At this critical moment, a baseball bat suddenly swung down. Plop! The man in the suit holding the gun fell to the ground. The other man in the suit had just reacted, but before he could do anything, the baseball bat came flying at his face. The baseball bat with huge force directly hit the other party's face, causing blood to burst out. At the same time, Lorne appeared. With his baseball bat in hand, he stepped forward and kicked the other two. He was relieved to find that they had both passed out. This was real life after all. Lorne could not be as relaxed as in the game. Of course, he did not feel too burdened. This time, he had not reached the extent of killing, so it was not hard to accept. As for the woman in the dress, she looked at the scene in shock. Just now, she thought that she was a goner, but she did not expect that at this critical moment, there was actually someone who saved her life. "Are you okay?" Lorne asked casually. The woman recovered herself and shook her head in response, then asked in surprise, "Who are you?" "I'm your next-door neighbor." With the baseball bat in hand, Lorne kicked the suited man on the ground and said, "When I was going out just now, I saw these two guys sneakily opening the door, so I followed them to take a look. I didn't expect them to be assassins." Hearing this, the woman looked at Lorne again and was relieved to find that he did not seem to be lying. Even her eyes lit up. "Please wait a moment." The woman picked up her phone and made a call. "Yes, send someone over first." Chapter 148, Burning Passion. In less than 10 minutes, a few people in black uniforms entered. The woman chatted with them in the corner for a while before walking out. Although he looks very young, his mentality is much more mature than I imagined. Coupled with his wise appearance, it's really fascinating. The woman looked at the handsome Lorne with a smile. "Let's go find a place to sit, my benefactor." Lorne nodded, glancing at the other party as he observed her more thoroughly. This woman was about 23 years old and exuded a strong sense of maturity. She was much more beautiful than all the girls Lorne had seen in so many years. With that, the woman put on her gold-framed glasses and the exquisite handbag on the table, then held Lorne's left hand and walked out the door. Of course, Lorne did not refuse. After all, he had saved the other party's life before, so it was not offensive to make some intimate moves. However, the torturous thing was that this woman, whose name was still unknown, currently wore a slim-fit skirt. Her long legs were wearing black silk, and her beautiful figure was pressed against his side. Especially with her mature aura and golden-framed glasses, it was even harder to calm down. On the way, she brushed the hair from her ear and said, "My name is Jessica. What about you?" "Lorne." Lorne did not hide it. He could tell her his real name in reality. Even if he did not say it, he believed that with this woman's methods, she could definitely investigate all his information in 10 minutes. "Thank you for your help, Mr. Lorne." "It's nothing." "Although it's nothing to Mr. Lorne, it's a matter of life and death for me." Jessica thought about it seriously, then said, "How about this, Mr. Lorne? I'll invite you to work in our company, and you can decide the annual salary you want. How about it?" Lorne looked at her in surprise. "Are you planning to provide for me?" "Haha." Jessica laughed at his sudden seriousness. She smiled and nodded slightly, "Sure. You saved me, so it's only right that I take care of you." "Forget it. I don't like receiving something I didn't work for." Lorne smiled. "It can't be considered that, right?" Jessica said, "Mr. Lorne could earn more than $1 million from the Divine Realm in such a short time. This is enough to prove that your gaming talent is extraordinary. It just so happens that our company has a department that is entering the Divine Realm. Mr. Lorne can be a top manager in the game and help us develop the guild." Lorne fell silent after hearing that. He felt that he had underestimated this woman's strength. They had only known each other for less than 10 minutes, but the other party had already investigated his identity clearly. To have such strength, she was probably not an ordinary tycoon. I'm sorry, Mr. Lorne. Please forgive me for my impoliteness. This matter is very serious, so it's inevitable. Jessica apologized for that. But Lorne did not care. He shook his head. It's okay, I understand, but I can't agree to your invitation. Why? It's nothing. I'm just used to being idle. Hearing this, Jessica stared at the sight of Lorne's face in a daze. In the end, she shook her head and smiled. Seriously, can't you even be a little flawed? Forget it, let's not talk about this anymore. Regaining her composure, Jessica hooked her arm through Lorne's. Mr. Lorne, it's late. Why don't we go play in that new bar? I'm not in the mood to sleep after something like this happened. Sure, I'm wide awake too. Lorne smiled brightly. The Divine Realm update period was as long as 24 hours. He could relax during this time, especially since it was an invitation from such a beautiful woman. 2 hours later, the two people walked out of the bar and took a cab to a high-end hotel. In the luxurious suite, Jessica threw herself into Lorne's arms, her face red. Her warm breath blew in his ear, and her long hair fell on his face. The two of them confessed without any obstruction. Ever since he landed in debt, Lorne had not touched any woman. He was a hot-blooded young man, but he had not had a woman for 3 years. It was torture. Therefore, he was completely relaxed today and did not care about anything else. Lorne removed his bathrobe and lay on the same bed as the beautiful girl. On his chest, Jessica's twin peaks pressed close. To his surprise, the two jewels were actually so bouncy. Before he could think, 2 long arms wrapped tightly around his neck. The girl's breathing was so rapid. Jessica could no longer hold back. She did not expect to meet such a man at this time, and he was someone who could make her let go of all her reservations. When this young girl was in the same room as the man she loved and the atmosphere was so ambiguous, she could not think straight. At this moment, there was only one thought in Jessica's mind, and that was to have a delightful battle of love with this man before her. Jessica kissed him of her own accord, her moist lips pressed against his. Her flowery tongue stirred clumsily in Lorne's mouth. Clearly, she had no experience with this either. But to Lorne, this was more seductive than anything. Let me teach you how to use your tongue. Lorne began to guide her, then let nature take its course as he pressed down. Today, the two of them were like ignited dry wood, burning with passion without thinking of taking safety precautions. Oh! How can it be this big? This was the first time she had experienced such a thing, and she was still in a daze, but the sudden pain made her tremble. That man barged in just like that. The tearing pain made Jessica suck in involuntarily, as a faint sweetness spread in her mouth. The thing below was like a hot iron rod, and on the other end was on a high-speed motor. It was hard and had infinite mobility. Jessica did not stop her screaming. For some reason, the pain seemed to be receding, and another feeling was quickly taking over. She even felt like there was a dam filled with water in front of her, and it had already reached the highest level. She used all her strength to resist, but in the end, she became exhausted. The dam completely lost its ability to stop the flow, and the flood poured out for 1,000 miles. Chapter 149, Oracle Bone Defense Shield. The next day, Jessica changed into a form-fitting skirt and limped into Lorne's small villa. Sitting on the sofa, she looked at Lorne as if he were a criminal. Yesterday was clearly her first time, but this guy had been tossing and turning for more than an hour. Moreover, he was restless in the latter half of the night as well. He was too detestable. Since we've already had the most intimate touch, our relationship should be one step closer. Jessica said, because of my family's special reason, I can't declare your status for the time being, but I will help you prepare your identification and admission permit in the high-level energy zone. At that time, we can meet often and build up our relationship. High-level energy zone? Lorne. who wanted to speak, swallowed his words. With his current income, he could actually enter the high-level energy zone. However, Lorne was afraid that his identity in the game would be implicated by this matter, so he was very careful about spending money and had not completely exposed his wealth. However, who would have thought that things would be so dreamlike? When he had just obtained the first piece of game equipment, he had encountered a rich beauty who had been attacked and had even had an emotional exchange yesterday. Right now, he could use Jessica as a springboard to directly enter the high-level energy zone. Moreover, he did not have to worry that someone could follow this clue to investigate the trajectory of his life in reality and deduce his identity in the game. As for why he was so anxious to go to the high-level energy zone, the reason was very simple. Now that Lorne knew that the items in Divine Realm could be conjured, it meant that the order of the world would soon be affected. The high-level energy zone had enough powerful defense. There were powerful mechanical warriors there who could organize all kinds of dangerous attacks. As for whether you have other women, I don't care. My only request for you is that if you want to get married, I have to be the first one. Jessica was not a petty woman. As a young lady who had grown up in a rich family, she was much more open about marriage than ordinary people. To most wealthy ladies, that was just a means of cooperation. To them, true love that could support them until they were old was an extravagant dream. Therefore, she did not plan to pressure Lorne. She only wanted to arrange for him to be by her side and use this method to try to catalyze the seed of love in her heart. Jessica, I think you're mistaken. Our actions yesterday were not because of affection. It was just a friendly interaction due to our compatibility. Therefore, you don't have the right to act as my girlfriend. Whether I fall in love with other women is not under your control either. Lorne rejected her. To be honest, the moment he heard the conditions, he even thought that he had misheard. This woman could actually allow him to find other girlfriends, and the only request was only the priority of marriage. This was too good for him. As the beneficiary, Lorne felt that there was no reason to refuse. Unfortunately, he could not convince himself. As a man who could earn billions of dollars in the divine realm, he had no reason to submit to a woman, nor could he persuade himself to use tricks to deceive a woman to achieve his goals. I couldn't tell. You have quite a lot of self-esteem. Jessica was not angry. Instead, she smiled. This man was really extraordinary. The idea of persevering under such temptation was indeed commendable. As for Lorne's persistence, it was just that the two of them had different opinions about their relationship. However, on second thought, she felt that Lorne's persistence made sense, because after everything that had happened yesterday, the two of them were indeed not inclined towards a romantic relationship. The intimate actions were only supplementary, not the root cause. All right, I agree with you. However, I'm becoming more and more interested in you. I think we can attempt to have a relationship. If you agree, I can still fulfill my promise. Jessica said. She had always felt tempted by the man in front of her, especially after last night's experience. Her heart kept telling her that this might very well be her destined lover and that she could not miss it. Of course, how can I let a beauty down? Lorne agreed. These words were not casually said. He did like the other party's intelligence. Moreover, last night, this woman had given it to him. Her most important first time was taken by him. He was not shameless enough to ignore everything after that. With that, he arrived beside Jessica, his heavy breathing causing the other party to quickly retreat. Not today. With a look of lingering fear, she held the arm of the sofa and stood up. You don't know how to be gentle with women at all. When you did that, you were like an electric motor. At the end, Jessica blushed. At the thought of the intense battle last night, although it was refreshing, no woman could withstand such an endless barrage. After an hour, she was almost exhausted. All right, do you want to walk around? Lorne was not so thirsty. Seeing her like this, he naturally showed some concern. To his surprise, Jessica rolled her eyes at him. She could barely walk anymore, but this guy still invited her to go shopping. He was really blind. After a short exchange, Jessica left. She still had an emergency mission on her and needed to return to the headquarters as soon as possible. As for Lorne, she would help him register for a high-level energy zone residence in the near future. Then, the two of them would meet there. Oracle Bone Defense System. In the afternoon, Lorne sat on his couch, thinking about what he had heard from Jessica. He opened the internet and began to inquire about the Oracle Bone Defense System. The next moment, he was shocked. Lorne had not expected the Oracle Bone Defense System to be a huge protective shield that protected the world from destruction. However, due to the limited amount of energy available, only the energy zones would build different Oracle Bone shields based on their levels. On the internet, there were even people who said that the Oracle Bone Defense System was created to deal with future crises. If this information was true, there could only be one imminent danger: game materialization. Chapter 150, Content of the System Update. The World Alliance suddenly wanted to add a Oracle Bone Defense Shield to all the energy zones. Although it was a private company's technology, it was so huge that it was obviously not just a matter of business. Moreover, such an action was not significant in normal times. Unless there was really a crisis in this world, there was no need to add protective shields. Therefore, Lorne had every reason to believe that the World Alliance was definitely preparing for the impending crisis. If the Divine Realm is the source of the crisis, why is the World Alliance allowing it to run? Lorne was confused. When the Divine Realm was first developed, the World Alliance did not supervise any players, as if they did not know the harm of virtual reality. But strangely, at this moment, they began to build protective shields. This was clearly a contradictory result. Is the World Alliance trying to make up for their mistakes? Another possibility occurred to Lorne. That was, the World Alliance had unintentionally discovered the virtual technology and triggered it. However, they later discovered the uncontrollable nature of the materialization, so they made up for it and began to build a protective shield for the energy zones. This was a high possibility. However, this was only a guess. Before understanding the true reason, all of this was just his assumption. For a civilian like Lorne, the best way to deal with it was to enter a higher level energy zone. Although it could not guarantee absolute safety here, it could allow one to die later than others in the lower level energy zone. It shouldn't be a problem in the near future. The materialization should be very limited at this stage. Lorne's materialization was built on the premise of completing an epic main storyline mission. According to the global announcement, his materialization was likely the only event currently. Moreover, there was no special information regarding virtual reality on the internet. This made Lorne feel a little more at ease. As the number one player, he naturally hoped that the materialization time could be delayed for a period of time. With this period of time, he could strengthen his strength to a sufficiently high level. It was best to materialize Aisha in this world. Only then would he feel truly safe. At dawn, the update maintenance of the Divine Realm ended. Without any hesitation, Lorne logged into the game. As soon as he went online, he received a private message from Super Rich. This rich tycoon had been addicted to games recently. He spent as much time playing as young people. Lorne casually replied and also sent a message to Twinkle Rose. It was the last day of the event. The big busted sister only had one batch of potions, and they would probably be sold out before dawn. However, the big busted sister did not give the gold coins to Lorne directly. It seemed that recently, she had found a special channel. Someone was buying gold coins wantonly, and she planned to sell all the gold coins in her hand and transfer them to Lorne. Of course, this beautiful guild leader did not work for nothing. Because she was the one who had found the channel, she naturally had to obtain some dividends. For the sake of long-term cooperation, Lorne gave her a 5% commission. After dealing with this matter, he closed the chat panel. Lorne looked around. This was the place where he had been forced to go offline. The huge building in front of him was actually called Desolate Dragon City. However, he was not in a hurry to enter. Before exploring Dragon City, he had something to deal with. That was to check the contents of the game update. This update lasted for 24 hours. There would definitely be many new functions. Lorne checked the entire update and concluded two important pieces of information. First, the classification of monsters and areas. Due to the increase in the level of the players, the low-level monsters near the main city were strengthened. The range of the low-level monsters was reduced, and in contrast, the area of the high-level monsters was expanded. In addition, in order to enrich the terrain of the world, there was an additional fog region in the original topographic map of the various cities. The resources in the fog region were even richer, but the monsters' levels were not divided accurately. It meant that there was no specific classification like level 20 to 30 there. When players entered the area to explore, they would encounter monsters of any level, just like how Lorne had entered the Lake of Death. Secondly, the subclass system officially opened. The important content of this update should be the secondary subclass. In the previous game, there were only two subclasses for players. One was mining and the other was picking herbs. As for the other subclasses, they were almost impossible to find. However, now, all the subclasses had appeared. If the players wanted to learn, they only needed to go to the main city and find the corresponding subclass mentor. Currently, the subclasses included harvesting, mining, logging, dissecting, planting, fishing, cooking, building, forging, refining, tailoring, scroll making, carving, transporting, brewing, and so on. There were dozens of subclasses, much more than combat classes. With so many choices, various resource-type guilds would appear in the game. Such guilds were like real companies. An alchemy guild was equivalent to a medical pharmaceutical company. A mining guild was equivalent to a metal mining company. A forging-type guild was equivalent to a manufacturing company. All these guilds that specialized in secondary occupations specifically entered the game to plunder money. Of course, they also provided jobs. Those ordinary players had a place to earn money. Thinking of this, Lorne could not help but think of the coordinates of the minerals he had recorded. If one day, he mined all those mineral veins, he would probably gain another $1 billion. If only I could build a territory here. Lorne looked into the future, then shook his head and smiled. Now that there were no clues in the territory system, these thoughts were too forward. Closing the updated content panel, Lorne opened the mission panel. It showed that there was still a day left. This was the time period when the game stopped yesterday. Fortunately, that was the case. Otherwise, the mission entrusted to him by the Dragon of Light would have failed. It's time to go in and check on the situation. Lorne looked at the cold, desolate Dragon City. This ancient city that was almost one with the mountain range had remained intact despite having been weathered for tens of millions of years. As the city fortress where the dragon had once been stationed, its interior was filled with infinite possibilities. He hoped to obtain a big surprise inside. Lorne took a deep breath and walked into the towering, ancient city.